My guest today is a registered nutritional therapist and hormone specialist who helps women understand their menstrual cycle, balance their hormones, and feel better in their bodies. Deeply passionate about translating complex hormone science into clear practical guidance, my guest helps women understand what their symptoms are really telling them and making simple food and lifestyle tweaks that actually fit into real life. In this episode, we talk about the easy changes you can make today to feel happier and healthier in the skin you're in. Enjoy the episode. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of the Skin I'm In podcast. I'm your host, Chanel, and this is the space where real stories meet radical self-discovery. Here, you'll find peace through clarity, purpose through inspiration, and the permission to be your authentic self through the stories of men and women who've walked the path before us. If this show moves you, hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, or subscribe so you never miss an episode. That small but powerful act helps the show grow and brings in the guest you most want to hear from. In return, my promise to you is that I'll keep showing up with the raw, the real, and the conversations that crack us wide open, reminding us we're not alone. So, let's dive in and find the light in the shadows together. So, oh my God, I need a reset. Give me a second.
I feel like this is going to be a very funny episode.
Yep, it's going to be. I might actually start with that. I'm not taking that part out. So it is not by accident, then we're going to be talking about hormones today and what they do. But let's start with what first sparked your interest in hormones and women's menstrual health, and how did that path lead you to becoming a nutritional therapist?
So my own health history, like with so many nutritionists or nutritional therapists, that back when I was about 17, 18, I had a long list of symptoms that I didn't really know what to do with. I had chronic nausea. I had lots of bloating, lots of digestive issues, lots of skin issues. My periods were all over the place. They were heavy. I just felt like a shell of myself, really. And I, of course, went to my doctor, and they very kindly ran lots of blood tests, and everything came back normal. And I was like, okay, this doesn't feel normal. And this went on for maybe about 18 months. And I kept going back, just thinking, because this is not normal. Like, I'm getting more and more symptoms. I'm feeling worse in myself. What is going on? And everything still came back normal. And I was very fortunate that my mum knew a local nutritional therapist, and she went, you know what, neither of us really believed in it. I'll be honest, that I'll be honest, we were quite a holistic family. My mum was aromatherapist, so when we were ill, she always used essential oils and things like that rather than relying on antibiotics straight away. But we didn't really believe in the power of food. But she said, why not? Look, what have you got to lose apart from just paying for the session? So I went along, and within that first session, it was like a light bulb went on. She started to connect dots around how my symptoms were all sort of married together, because I'd seen different doctors for my gut, for my hormones, for my skin, and no one had seen me as me, and no one had kind of gone, yeah, these are the things we need to focus on, make these couple of changes in your diet, let's see how you feel in a couple of weeks. So not only was it more of a supportive process, because I had somebody that I could email, I could go back to them, they wanted me to come back to them, whereas the doctor was always like, you're fine, just get on with it. And it was that process that, honestly, I made a few changes, and it was on sort of balancing my blood sugar, eating more protein, less carbohydrates, less snacking. And honestly, within 2 weeks, I'm not saying I was completely fixed. Of course I wasn't, but I felt so different. I had energy for the first time in years. My mood was lifted. It was just that clarity. And from there, it really just sparked my interest in this thing called nutrition. Like, oh my God, what we eat actually impacts how we feel. And from there, I just digested everything, no pun intended, everything I could, different books. Didn't mean to do that, different books, and read everything. And then I finally decided, yes, this is what I want to do. And I went on to train. And I really trained, if I'm honest, to help myself, because I was quite a complex case. I had lots of things going on. I thought I was complex back then. Now I look at myself and go, yeah, obviously it was this. But I really wanted to have a deep understanding. So that's what led me to train. And then from that, I went, actually, I do want a career in this.
That's really interesting and comforting at the same time, because I think to myself, in terms of my own journey, it's been exactly the same. And I recently posted on a Facebook group with a whole bunch of crunchy women saying, I've tried somatic therapy, homeopathy, kinesiology, I've tried this, I've tried that, my naturopath, like everything. I've gone to a homeopath, I've done this, I've done that, but I still have a sweating condition and I don't know what to do. Like, I've Chinese medicine, acupuncture. I'm like, someone please tell me, did they experience that too? And for myself, I found that my hormones changed after I had the COVID infection. I didn't get the taxi waxy, but the actual infection. And everything changed for me. I developed psoriasis, I developed eczema, I developed intolerances to food that I wouldn't normally, for the fatigue, it's still with me, and a chronic sweating condition. My body's not hot, but my pits are like waterfalls. And I found that depending during the time of the month, they do get worse, but it's still consistent. And so I have been to everybody and everything you can think of. And now I'm wondering if there is a fix that's just as simple as, well, it's probably not just as simple, but it does feel complex because everyone's coming at my condition from so many different angles that I'm confused. I'm like, I don't actually know. Do I have a diagnosable condition, or is it just that my cortisol's really high? Like, so that gives me comfort because I'm like, okay, this might be the next thing that I try. So I can totally understand you might have gone down all those rabbit holes for yourself.
Yeah, and that's really interesting that you say that. I mean, that's exactly how I felt when I was 18, 19. I remember reading every nutrition book I could find from our local library. I spent a fortune on books, and I would read it and go to my husband, oh my God, this is what I've got. And I remember reading a digestive book, and I think there was like 10 conditions in there. And I was like, I have every single one. And he said to me, you can't have every single one. And I didn't, but they have the same. I'm trained in functional medicine, and we look at the root cause. So for you, like thinking about the symptoms, what's going on, like if the COVID infection was kind of the trigger for that, like that might have changed how the immune system works. But then of course the immune system isn't just one system. All the body talks to each other, and it's trying to find what the trigger was, but also what is keeping all of these symptoms, like what's keeping the body running in this maybe imbalanced place. And when we identify those and we address them, whether it's through diet, lifestyle, whether it's through other practices as well, that is when hopefully we can get the symptoms to lower. And that's what happened in my journey. Was the nutritional therapist that I trained with, she was trained in functional medicine, which is why I went down that route. And she identified my root causes and then, of course, adjusted my diet and lifestyle accordingly. And that's when I did start to feel better.
Yeah. And did it seem a little confusing at first? Because I feel like hormones can be so complex and there's like a whole science behind it. How do you make that or turn that into being something practical that people can actually understand for themselves? Because what I get from you, especially with your Instagram, is that you really care about the education piece. It's not just about, having people come in and see you. It's really the education piece without the BS. So how do you help women who probably misunderstand their hormones to see their symptoms differently and heal from whatever it is that's going on for them?
Yeah, really good question. So everyone is obsessed with their hormones and what the levels are and how they're all balanced or imbalanced. And I'm guilty of talking about hormone balance as well. And it's not a thing because your hormones will never be balanced. They're always going to be fluctuating. And it's not about the hormones, it's about the environment they're in. So this complex pathway of how the hormones all interact and convert to each other, yes, it's happening in our body, but actually if it feels super, super overwhelming, that's less important. And when I say the environment your hormones are in, I'm talking about things like your blood sugar. What is your stress like? Do you have gut imbalances? Do you sweat daily? Do you detox regularly? Do you eat lots of processed food? It's more about kind of the basic diet and lifestyle stuff, which a lot of us do know about, and maybe we're not always doing it, but it's the foundations of, if I'm honest, what makes a human body thrive will make your hormones thrive. And I think we get so bogged down into, oh, my progesterone's low, my estrogen's high, and my thyroid's out, and all of this thing. And a big secret of what I do, I really have 6 pillars that I work on with everybody, and I've just listed them if I'm honest. And those are the things if we fix your sleep, if we try and lower your stress, if we get you eating a bit more protein, a bit more fiber, it creates the environment that the hormones need to thrive, because the hormones are just chemical messengers. They're just moving through the body. They're going to cells and telling the cell to do something. But if there's lots of inflammation, they can't travel around. The inflammation gets blocked, so they don't get the right signal. So that's when we get symptoms. So it's less about the hormones, and that might be sound crazy for me to say as a hormone nutritionist that I do talk about hormones, but it's more about fixing your environment, and that then feels simpler, because then we can all work on our sleep, we can all potentially improve our diet, we can all hopefully somehow lower our stress a little bit. And yes, there might be other drivers for those things, but I do think there are simple things everyone can do, diet and lifestyle, which is going to have a downstream effect on their hormones and how they feel overall. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes, because what I hear from women, and I've had quite a few women on the show talking about menstrual cycles and hormones, it is a bit of a relief for you to say it's not like it's hormone imbalance isn't the thing, because obviously I've done every single test, Sarah. The spit test, the blood test, everything. There may as well be a scratch and sniff test at this point. But I find that the focus is on that so much, and the supplements for that is just everywhere on Instagram. You see people posting supplements in that crunchy group that I was telling you about. Has anyone else tried this? Has it worked for you? And I just look at that and I'm like, just even if it had worked for someone else in the group, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. And so it is a bit of a relief for me to hear that it's not just about hormones. But I do wonder, because sometimes it does come up, can you have a really good diet, a good exercise routine, and still be having these kinds of issues?
Yes. And that is when I guess we can go back to the confusing route again. So yes, you can. But it could be potentially what you're doing isn't quite right for your body, or we have other underlying things going on. Because it might be, if I kind of think about your health load as like this bucket, and actually if it's kind of just sitting just below the rim, and then actually you get COVID infection, or you do have a couple of nights without good sleep, or you do have a real stressful event, the bucket's going to start overflowing, and that's when we have symptoms. Whereas if the bucket is really, really low, we can have more capacity for these stresses. And it's then looking at actually what is going underneath. So my clients are kind of split in two. Some clients come to me and actually they go, I'm so overwhelmed and I just really struggle with the implementation of it, in which case actually getting good night's sleep, reducing stress, and all the basics are so powerful for them. I then have women come to me and they seriously live the best life ever, and I don't know how they do it. And I say best life, like way healthier than me. I think, how do you eat like that all the time, and how do you do all those things all the time, but they're still not feeling well? And that's when we need to go a little bit deeper and understand, actually, do they have things like mold exposure? Do they have chronic infections? Do they have autoimmune disease? Do they have gut infections? Do they have heavy metals? So what is causing the body to be out of balance? And that's when we have to take go deeper to understand actually then what is driving their symptoms for them. So I would say it's kind of split, not completely split in two halves, but I do think the basics is always going to be the like diet and lifestyle stuff, getting that in place first. If women are going, I'm eating well and actually exercising and I manage my stress and I sleep well and I still don't feel well and I think my hormones are still not working quite as they should, yes, it is possible. But that's when we kind of, as I say, look at the deeper layer. And that is when like functional testing and doing all the tests are really, really, really helpful, because then it starts to eliminate things or add things into the mix that we need to think about.
What do you see as the major shifts that occur once women really understand and start working with their menstrual cycle rather than against it? So I feel like there's a mindset aspect to this as well. That's what I'm kind of getting from what you're saying.
Yeah, that's such a powerful point. And my relationship with my menstrual cycle completely changed when I understood this. So I think we're just not taught about our bodies. Firstly, we're not. I think at school I remember being told, here's a tampon, here's how to put it in, here's a condom, don't have sex with that one because you'll get pregnant. And that was literally it. And maybe it's better where you live, and maybe it's better now actually, but that was it. We weren't taught anything about our hormones, our cycles, how our bodies actually work. And I think when you start to understand that we aren't made to feel the same every single day, you can start to have a little bit more compassion for your body and show up how you are that day rather than sort of pushing through. Because in the first half of our cycle, yes, we're on our periods, so we're probably going to be lower energy. And then we move through what's called the follicular phase up until ovulation. And you're more likely to feel outgoing, more sociable, because we have rising estrogen, rising testosterone. We then hopefully ovulate. And then in that luteal phase, we have progesterone. The second half of the cycle, we have progesterone taking over. And that radically changes how our body functions. So estrogen and progesterone are the two main hormones of the menstrual cycle. And we talk about them in terms of how they work in the menstrual cycle. But we have receptors for these hormones in pretty much every single cell of the body. So they're going to impact how you think. They're going to impact how you feel. They're going to even impact how you look. They're going to impact how your heart functions, your lung functions, your muscle functions, because estrogen and progesterone, they're two different things. So estrogen helps us, I guess, feel more outgoing, more energetic, more sociable. Progesterone's more calming. It's more introverted. For some women, we don't get that calm. We get sort of crazy energy, irritability, and that could be because we don't have enough. But it completely changes how you feel. So in your luteal phase, the second half of your cycle, it's very normal to feel less outgoing. You want to stay at home. You want to sit on the sofa more. You don't have as much energy. Your mood's a little bit flatter. And that's very normal. And I think we don't know that I think the mindset shift between always having to be on or needing to be on or feeling like we do want to go out and socialize and do all the things, it's not a normal feeling. And when we understand actually we can be two different women, and when we, I guess, comes to terms with that, it means that actually I feel like the luteal phase can be softer and you can meet that version of yourself. And it took me a long time to get there, because I am somebody that loves pushing through. I love being active and doing loads of things. And to be then actually respectful of my body to do less and sit on the sofa more, and I'm not going to be as bubbly. It's hard, but actually finding the different layers of myself in my menstrual cycle was a really lovely experience and has completely changed my relationship with my menstrual cycle.
I'm so glad you bring that up, because it's one of the things that I probably had to really, really understand for myself, how to soften in those phases, because I didn't realize what was happening for so long. I don't think I realized until I fell pregnant last year and then miscarried. And I was like, I think I need to find out a little bit more about why I, feel the way that I feel during the month, and for me to actually start tracking my period. I had never tracked my period until I thought about becoming pregnant. And so I thought, at 40 last year, I'm like, oh, now I'm starting to track my period. Now I'm starting to understand what phase I'm in. And I'm actually allowing myself to not have to clean, to not have to cook, to not have to do all the things. I'm just going to have cheese and crackers, and that's all I'm going to do, because I literally cannot handle a decision bigger than that. And so as we're talking about today, I'm very open about where I am in my life. It's the first day of my cycle. I'm an absolute jelly brain. I cannot even deal with how mush my brain feels right now. And I just said, I don't even know how we're going to get through this conversation, but it'll be a fun one. But it really helped me to understand and not beat myself up so much. I used to beat myself up so much, and I didn't even understand, why am I not doing well at training, for instance. Like, I used to go to the gym all the time, and I had a trainer who was just like, do you have your period? It was a guy. And I was like, yes. How do you know? Didn't realize it's because I'm not able to lift as heavy. And so he didn't say to me, these are the reasons why I'm asking. He just made me feel really shit about it. So once I started to understand that these are all really important, essential parts of who I am as a woman, that I need to go through these things, but also I need to pay attention to what's going on, how I'm feeling, how bad it is, how much easier it is. Some months it's harder, some months it's not. But it really helped me to be able to work out when I need to give myself some space to just be. And that was really hard. And I didn't really understand that until I hit 40. And so I don't know that education is any better in schools. I never actually got to have that class. Thank God. Would have made me feel so uncomfortable. But I don't know that it's any better these days. I'm going to be honest with you.
I think, isn't it amazing that we can get to 40, or for me, I was a little bit younger, but we can get, it's often I find women only start really understanding and thinking about their cycle is when they want to become pregnant. Because, of course, what we're again never taught is the timing of sex does matter. And I think we could have such a different generation of women. And I do think I see my clients that come in that are in their 20s, they are far more savvy than I was. That they track their menstrual cycle. We didn't have apps, right? And they have all these apps that do all these wonderful things and all these trackers and all the rest of it. And they're really, really great. They make it really easy. But they are far more educated. And I think they are far more willing to advocate for themselves as well. I see that, and maybe that's just in my own journey that I look back and I wish I had advocated more actually for myself. But they want to know why. They ask the questions a little bit more. So I'm really pleased to see that I'm seeing that shift anyway in where I work and who I'm working with, which is amazing. But it's just so powerful that I look back in my journey, and for me it was less about, well, resting was a thing, but it was the cravings that I used to eat my fridge. And I used to feel so bad about myself and hate myself because I was like, just stop eating. Come on, just why? Like, and it's all this lovely, the diet industry and all that lovely narrative around eating more is bad and you're a horrible person, etc. But I used to every month genuinely hate myself because I could not stop eating. And I think understanding that it's just I need to eat more in my luteal phase and honoring that means that actually my relationship, my body and my food and food is good now. Whereas that monthly cycle was really, really tough because, and I hear it from women I work with as well, they have 2 good weeks and they're like, yes, I can smash everything. Everything's feel really good. And then 2 weeks where everything feels hard and I have to start again and it feels awful and I can't get this consistency. And I think the biggest thing that I learned is women are not made to be consistent. And I really, really struggled to accept that because consistency is valued, I feel, in society. That actually doing something and building and working towards something and getting up every day and doing the same thing every day, there is a lot of value in that in society, and actually being told, you can't do that, we're not made for that. That was a really hard pill to swallow, but it really did allow me to tap into all of the magic of the different phases of the cycle. Because where you are right now in your period, you're far more intuitive. And I think when you start tapping into some of those amazing qualities we have, it really makes the whole cycle, for me anyway, a really lovely thing to experience. And I love the fact also, if you're having a really rubbish week in the luteal phase, it's only a week. It's not forever. It will pass. And then your period will come and we'll start again. So you can kind of move. It's almost like trying on different outfits and you can be different personalities. And I kind of like that now. I hated it for a while, but I really do love that now.
Yeah. I think one of the things that helped me accept it was when I found out that men have a 24-hour cycle.
Yes.
Right? And we have a what? It's 28-day cycle? Excuse me. Our whole society is built on 24-hour cycles. It's bullshit. I was just like, oh, that was the thing for me. I was just like, F this. I cannot live like that. I'm not meant to live like that, and it's okay. And so I fully accepted it at that point and was happy to give that kind of responsibility to men, that consistency piece, that doing the same thing every single day, showing up the same every single day. I could never understand why I couldn't do the same. I was very competitive, especially around training. So I really was able to accept that. And I do love how you just mentioned our need for more food during that phase, because like you said, the relationship, we have with food is really, really, I'm trying to think of the word, but jelly brains, it's unhealthy. I'm like, what's the word? It's unhealthy in so many ways. And it's really not good for our own mental, like the mental health aspect, because you're always like, I can't get it right. And we feed into that loop, So, so you mentioned that women come to you for a broad range of things. What would you say the most common things are? Because the majority of the women that listen to this show are between the ages of 35 and 45. The next set of women that are listening to the show are 45 to 55. So I find it really interesting that the more mature age women are starting to tune in. But I would be really interested to know what the most common things are that do come across your desk for the women in that age group, and what's something that you can tell them to maybe ease their minds for their burdens around those things.
Yeah, so I think if we start with the younger age category, that our hormones can start shifting even as early as 30, but around 35, we know that the hormones are starting to shift towards that perimenopause, menopause state. And you might not have any symptoms at that point, but the physiological shifts are starting to happen. And the things that I hear is most commonly is things just aren't working for me anymore. That I used to be okay. I eat well, I exercise, what we are saying before actually, but actually my energy's dropping, my periods are going a bit weird, and I'm putting on weight. What is going on? And unfortunately, as I say, the hormones are shifting. We know things like your blood sugar gets more rocky. We know your stress tolerance decreases. We know your estrogen, progesterone. Your estrogen starts swinging all over the place, and your progesterone starts dropping, which then means we often ovulate less regularly. We have heavier, painful periods, maybe more PMS, more mood things going on. Our muscle mass starts decreasing, and this is everything I'm listing is not giving them confidence. I'm going to get to that now of what they can do, but we do know, and I think again, I'm big on education, as you said before, because when you understand this is happening, you can stop beating yourself up and going, okay, right, I'm gonna cut calories, I'm gonna exercise more, because it's not about that. Like if you're losing muscle mass and you're gaining weight and you're feeling tired, the answer isn't to push through further. It's to actually understand your female physiology and go, okay, things are shifting. I need a different toolbox. And I think the things that I really focus on with women in this age category is muscle mass. So making sure that they are lifting, whether that is heavy weights, whether you prefer Pilates based. We all have our own preference and thoughts and what we want to do. But as long as you are building some muscle mass, I'm happy. And then also to focus on protein. I feel like protein's gone mad on social media, that it's like the thing that's going to solve everything. And it is important to make sure we are maintaining that muscle mass and not losing it. I would also be really, really, really knuckling down on our stress management, that as we go through the perimenopause and menopause, when we do reach menopause, your adrenal glands are going to get an extra job, that they're going to start producing a little bit of estrogen that our ovaries stop. So it's so important that actually the adrenal glands feel so loved throughout this process, because it will make it easier. So if you are somebody that just keeps on taking more work and just like, it's fine, I can just do it, I'll just fit it in, or you do have previous trauma, or you do know that you just push yourself too far, now is the time, and I'm speaking to myself when I'm saying this, to get really, really serious about just trying to not push through and actually get help with other practitioners that can really help you with that and find new methods. Because if you're not somebody that can sit there and meditate for an hour, then that's not going to work for you. But there are so many other ways you can regulate your nervous system. And I think muscle mass, regulate your nervous system, and I mean, blood sugar kind of comes into the whole muscle mass thing as well. But those are the main things that I'd really be focusing on with those women, because it makes the whole transition easier, because your hormones are going to start fluctuating. So we can create this really strong container that actually, if that's really strong, things can go a little bit crazy in the middle, but you won't feel it as strongly. So yeah, I think that's what I would definitely focus on with, I guess, your lower age category of listeners.
How do we do that when we live in a society where multiple industries profit off of our stress, off of us trying to stay looking young, trying to stay consistent and fit and Instagram modelly? Like, I'm listening to you and going, okay, body changes. Thankfully, I'm not someone that compares myself in this way, but I see it so often and the conversation comes up so often. But we live in a time where we are not allowed to just be a certain way, or at least we get told that. And I feel like a lot of people buy into it because it's so easy these days with social media. I didn't have that growing up. Social media came into effect when I was in my 20s. So I didn't have to do that when I was a teenager, but teenage girls are starting to really, really care way too much about stuff like that, and already not accepting themselves so much more than when I was a teenager, 15, 20, 30 years ago, however long ago that was. So how do we do that? How? They're throwing it at us from every single angle.
Yeah. And I don't have an answer, if I'm honest. Like, it's so hard. It is so hard. Like, social media is wonderful in many ways, but I also think it's the devil in many ways. And if my business wasn't on social media, I'm not sure I'd be on there, because I can feel it in myself that I try and not scroll now. But when I do, I feel it. I feel my heart start going. And it's that comparison. And then the brain kicks in, right? Because then you are flooded with all this information. And I think you have to find out what's going to work for you and what are your big stresses. So is it a comparison thing? Is it just always being on? Is it notifications? Is it just life is really, really busy? Like, coming back to the stress piece, what is the biggest thing? And I often say with my clients, it's the thing you don't want to think about or don't want to tackle. It's the thing that we go, oh, it's not a problem, it's fine, because we're so attached to it, or we know it's so ingrained. And it's really addressing the elephant in the room, and it's going to that thing of going, yeah, no, okay, I do need to look at that. And I really wish I had an answer, and it's just, but I don't, because it is so hard. We have to be, I think, to be healthy generally, we have to go against society. And that is so hard because it's effort. And then I'm asking you to have less effort. And then it can get, again, we're back to that whole confusion thing, but it's finding your peace where you can find it and looking at what your triggers are. So for me, I used to go down the comparison game. And so scrolling on social media was not a good thing, because I'd be looking at all these people having these fantastic lives and fantastic days. Really, they weren't. It's just you post the highlights, right? But for me, I've had to go, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I've unfollowed so many accounts because I'm like, they're just not good for my mental health. They're not good for their stress. I go around a rabbit hole and they're not good for me. But I think you have to want it. You have to want to change, because without that, you won't change. It's very easy for me just to carry on scrolling on social media. It's very easy for me just to carry on pushing through because that's my norm. For me to sit still and to do some like somatic exercise and breathing, it feels so alien. And I'm sat there like, I hate this. What am I doing? But I know I need to do it. And it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, I think, is really important. I don't know if that's a good answer, if I'm honest, but I don't have an answer. I really wish I did. I don't know. Do you have any ways?
No, I was just thinking to myself, what's my one thing that I don't want to have to change? But you know what, as well? About to lose my train of thought. But one of the things that the ones that I struggle with is that I follow a lot of rescues. I follow a lot of dog rescues all around the world, and my heart, and I sob, Sarah, like I sob so hard. And I have had to unfollow a lot of them. There's only now like a handful that I follow that isn't too traumatic, because I felt the weight of the world. How can I help? How can I send money? If I just kept sending money every single time I felt this way, I would have nothing left for me and my dogs and a roof over my head. And so I had to make the decision, which was really, really hard for me because I love dogs so much, to have to start like unfollowing these accounts and turning, I hate to say it this way, but for my own mental health, I had to turn a blind eye to the abuse, the neglect, and the horrific things that are happening to animals that are just the most loving, kindest beings on this planet. I'm just like, otherwise I don't sleep at night. And there are some videos that I cannot unsee. And I saw them months ago, and I still see them with detail in my head. And of course, they always come up right before I need to go to sleep when I'm struggling to sleep. So I had to make those decisions for myself. But I'm trying to think, like, is there something that I would really struggle to give up? Maybe. I don't know what that is. Maybe food. But again, I eat really well. People always commented on how well I eat. So I'm like, I'm going to have to really dive deeply into what that is. Like, how much more can I strip away from my food? Or maybe it's that I need to eat different food. You know what I mean? Maybe it's that I don't have to change.
It might not always be something you have to give up. Like I'm talking about it, me, I had to give up my scrolling addiction. But I also, for me, in my own health history, I had childhood trauma, and I kind of went, no, it's dealt with. I'm good. Like, I'm coping.
Right.
And I've always been really good at coping. And actually, it was about in my mid-20s that I was like, you know what? Actually, I don't think I have fully dealt with that trauma. And that was something for me that I had just told myself I'm fine with. And it was when I went, you know what, let's investigate this. Let's go for a couple of therapy sessions, EMDR sessions, and see what comes out. And when I cracked open that box, I realized, oh my God, yes, that is why my nervous system is always so unregulated and feels so unsafe, because I had that trauma I hadn't dealt with. And so that for me also, I'd convinced myself I was okay, and I didn't want to touch it because it was all good, but it wasn't. So it doesn't always have to be giving up something. It might be changing something, moving through something, but it's often the gut feel that you kind of go, like, if someone just asked you, and the snap decision of like, oh, that. So, but yeah, maybe it's not a gut feel for you. Maybe it's something you have to mull through and think through a bit.
Well, let me tell you, I've done constellations work, kinesiology, somatic therapy. Everything is coming out, and I realized I needed to when I actually miscarried. So it really threw me down a rabbit hole of, I've got a lot of trauma from my childhood that I knew and that I had worked on in therapy for quite some years. But there was stuff that I hadn't let go of, and it was causing me so much body pain. And I still deal with a lot of that stuff, but I still am working with my kinesiologist and all the things. So yeah, I do get that. And I'm going to sit with that a little bit, because a lot of what I have been going through the last 3 years, I've been able to clear everything like psoriasis and all that kind of stuff. But it's just the two things that are left. It's the sleep and the sweating for me. That, I wish I was able to clear those things more than anything else. But I do really appreciate that, in your line of work, it doesn't actually have to be major changes. Simple food and lifestyle tweaks that really fit into our lives can make a huge difference. So what are some of those things? I don't know why this is coming up for me, but I'm like, spend more time outside.
I was about to say the hill I would die on is getting outside first thing in the morning for natural sunlight. And life
Intuition.
It's heightened, see? And look, we're in I know you guys are in lovely summer. We're in winter, and I know there will be some people that, if they are listening in the Northern Hemisphere and you're like, it's pitch black. I mean, it's coming up to 8 a.m. my time, and it's so grey outside. But if you can get outside for natural sunlight, it sets your circadian rhythm. So we spoke about men having that 24-hour cycle. We have that too. We have the circadian rhythm. And that is our master rhythm of the body. So if that is out of balance, that's going to impact so many different functions: your brain function, your digestion, your inflammation response, your energy, but it's also going to impact the infradian rhythm, your menstrual cycle. So that rhythm is just so important. And I think it's something that is free. And I think in the wellness space, there is so much, you can spend so much money on gadgets and all the stuff and get nowhere, whereas this is free. And I do think anything that's getting us back to kind of our roots, being outside more and more in tune with nature, is going to be healing for the body, because we haven't evolved that far from when we had our caveman ancestors. So getting outside first thing in the morning is such a life-changing thing. And I started committing to this about 3 years ago, and I've noticed such an impact on my mood that it's so much more buoyant. It helps relieve stress as well. So yeah, getting outside. If it's cloudy, if it's rainy, get outside. If it's really dark, then you can get a light box, but I wouldn't personally invest in the stupidly expensive ones. I would just get one that gives you 10,000 lux. That's what you need. I've got one on my desk here, and I'll just put it on when I start working for 10-15 minutes to give me some light exposure when it's really, really dark when I get outside. But come summer, wherever you are in the world, it becomes a lot easier to get outside. So I think that is going to be, a hill I die on, that everybody listening, please do that if you're not already doing that.
When you say light box, are you talking about like a red light therapy box? What light box are you talking about?
It's like a sun lamp.
Oh, okay. Actually, I've heard of those. When I lived in Montreal, people used to tell me about that, because I got really, really sick after 5 years in Montreal. And they were like, it's because you got no sunlight. I was like, what do you mean? So
what is
that's
this?
interesting. I was like, what is this?
I don't know if I can pull mine. It's literally just a white square box. In the UK, they're called light boxes, but sun lamps, if you type that into Amazon or Google, that will come up. But it's not red light. It's like bright white light.
Okay, right. Interesting. I've got a red light therapy panel. Is that what they're called? Yeah, I've got mine from
Yes,
EMR Tech. I love it. But I find it really hard to just sit just there for 20 minutes. I'm like, what do I do with myself right now? I've got things to do. Oh my
quite.
God. So
So
maybe
maybe your
that's the
thing,
thing.
exactly. Yes, yes, and that's my thing as well. I have lots of things, but it's mine too. So I have one, and I'm guilty of not using it because I'm like, well, I can't do anything because I got to wear goggles when I'm using it. So then, what do I do?
Yes, it's so annoying, the goggles.
And then you end up with horrible, like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I wonder, is it okay for my dogs? My dogs are going to sniff around it. Can I just, yeah.
I know.
So but it is wonderful. I do find that whenever I do that before going to bed, I sleep really, really well with my,
Yeah,
EMR Tech panel. But yeah, it's a matter of actually remembering and being bothered. Yeah, that might be my thing. All right.
yeah. There we go. We
Don't want
found
to
it.
change it. I like my lists of things to do and tick off, you know? Look, your work would be extremely rewarding, but I would anticipate it's also really emotionally demanding. What helps you to stay grounded and nourished outside of the work that you do in your clinical practice?
Oh, I love that question. I think we spoke about this before I think we started recording. Love of dogs. That I have a dog too,
Yeah.
and she's nuts, and she's so fun. And I wish she was less nuts a little bit, but she's so fun that she constantly comes and brings me her toys or balls to play with her. So having that stimulation or reminder to stop sitting at my desk all the time. Of course, I'm with the clients, that's not going to happen. But when I'm in between clients or admin days, it allows me to go and have fun and be silly and run around the garden like a lunatic. And I would never do that if it's just me. So she has been like a breath of fresh air, if I'm honest. And then also, because of course we have to walk her, so getting outside for walks. Yeah, I think she has really, really helped my ability to stay grounded, lower my stress response, and then be more present because I'm not, as I've said before, like I'm somebody that can push through. Like I can, and I could sit here for 13 hours and work, and I wouldn't be productive every day, but I could do it. It's not good for me. And actually having those mini breaks just allows me to be more present and a better person, better practitioner. So get a dog, everybody. Get a rescue dog.
I'm like, if you consider her history and where she came from, I feel like it is more than understandable that all she wants to do is play with someone that she knows loves her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we've only had 2 dogs in our lifetime. We had our first one from Spain. He was a very different character. I described him as an Eeyore, but he was such a lovable, sort of like soft, gentle character. And then this one's like Tigger, like she's mental. But yeah, she just wants to
Yeah.
play and loves that attention. And yeah, it's an honor really to be part of her life and to have her love because adore dogs, all dogs, and they're just the kindest, softest creatures.
If it wasn't for my dogs, I wouldn't get outside as much as I do. I take them for walks twice a day, and I used to walk them around 10, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start walking them at 7 a.m. I want first morning like sunlight, and it has completely changed my day.
Yeah.
Going first thing in the morning before I do anything else. I literally just go, I brush my teeth, put clothes on, and I straight away out the door. And it has completely changed how I feel in the morning and throughout the day to do that. And so I think yes, please rescue dogs. Please do not go to puppy mills and backyard breeders. Can I just say that? Dogs are not Christmas presents. Can I also say that too, being that we're coming up to Christmas? I'm so sick of dogs being in shelters. But that's a whole other podcast episode. What would you say the biggest frustrations are that women are experiencing?
Really good question. I actually think it's probably they're 2 things. They're trying to look after themselves, but society isn't set up to support them. That I don't know, even on a basic level, like your supermarkets at our checkouts, it's full of chocolates and sweets. And you just think, why? Like, why does that need to be a thing? Actually, my local supermarket where I go, they used to have this lovely, great big fruit and veg section. And then now they've turned half of it into chocolate and mince pies and Christmas stuff. And then it stays all year round now. So then they go into Easter stuff, summer stuff. And you think, but where's the fruit and veg? So I think it's genuinely hard to look after yourself. And I think that's a frustration that I hear with my clients. And then I also think the other one's a little bit more controversial, is that I hear, unfortunately, so many women in my one-to-one clinic, but also in my DMs, that they have been to, a bit like my story, been to their doctor and dismissed or gaslit and just told everything's fine and just get on with it. You're a woman, what do you expect? Have a period. And I think that's my biggest frustration, if I'm honest, that they have symptoms, they go to their GP. Some might listen. This is not me saying all doctors don't listen and don't do anything, but my experience is they just say take the pill, and some women don't want that, quite rightly, and that's not actually fixing the root cause. So I think those two are the biggest frustrations that I hear. My biggest frustration is that women aren't being taken seriously, and I think the tide is definitely changing on that. We're having more conversations like this. There's more movement. There's more research into women's health, which is amazing. And I think in 10 years we will be having a very different conversation. But where we are right now, I don't think there's a good enough continuity of care for women, especially where I live anyway.
Oh, I think that's probably everywhere. Of every place I've been to and the most disappointed I've felt, I would say 90% of those interactions were with women who would tell me this is just what happens when you get older. I actually had a woman tell me when I what did I go to her for? I had ended up in it's a special unit in this medical center that's like a miniature hospital. And she's like, this is just what happens when you get older, love. And I'm looking at her going, how can you be so subscribed to this idea that this is just what happens? You've asked me no questions about my history. You've asked me nothing about how I eat. You've asked me nothing about how I exercise. Nothing, nothing, nothing. She's just kind of laughed it off and is like, this is just what women go through. I was just like, I'm like, oh, no, you don't. No, you don't tell me that. So, yeah, I can only imagine just the women that are coming to you and quite rightfully so, extremely irritated, frustrated, and at their wits' end, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is heartbreaking, honestly, the stories that I hear of women really, really trying to help themselves and trying to do their own research and investigate and work in collaboration with their doctor or their gynecologist, and just not getting the support back. And yeah, frustrated, wits end is exactly right. And I had a story actually as a client last week that came to me. She has endometriosis and she had been to see her gynecologist, and she shared that she has pain when she has sex and when she orgasms. And the gynecologist's response was, well, you should be happy that you have sex and you can orgasm. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, I thought we were improving and then this happened. And I couldn't believe it. And that was the response that she got. And that's one situation, but it's just not good enough, is it? Because
That
it's
is not good
a really big thing to speak to about a male that she doesn't know, to be confident enough to share that and then just be met, well,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
It was a man that said that to her?
It was a man. Yes. I mean, that's a whole other podcast episode, I feel, too. But yes, it was. Yeah. Me too. That was my response.
I may have punched him.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. So, yeah. And where do you go with that, right? Because then she's then going to feel like she doesn't want to share that again because it gets shut down, and then actually everything's normal.
Yeah.
She should be grateful that she's having sex and having an orgasm. And it just then it closes women off, and that's not okay. It's just not okay.
Sounds like a bitter married man who's getting none at home.
Probably, yes.
He's like, who are you to come in here and tell me? Oh, man. I don't even want to know. Looking ahead, and if you think about your bigger picture for your work and what you're doing and the vision that you have for how women understand and talk about hormone cycles in their bodies in everyday life, what is that for you? Like, what is that guiding star?
So I really want women to be educated and to understand their bodies, to understand what is going on. So not only can they actually support themselves better, but they can advocate for themselves better when they have to go to, if they do have to go to the doctor or their gynecologist, and they feel empowered enough and understand enough to actually ask questions. And maybe it's a personality thing, but I look back in my journey, and I was young, but I just went, okay, I'm obviously fine. I'm obviously normal. And it's now if I look back and I think, why did you do that? But I don't want any women to be sat where I was feeling lost, or the women that come to me feeling so lost, frustrated, confused, overwhelmed. Oh, I've just got to live with this. I don't want that for women, because I think we have so much magic to give this world. And when we feel good and in balance, it impacts the world generally, right? Because we're better partners, we're better mothers, we're better aunties, we're better friends. Like it is just this ripple impact of actually women feeling better, more empowered. And I think that is what I want to do, is to spread more education so women can feel better in themselves. So we do create a better, God, this is actually quite a big mission, isn't it? But to create a better world, like where everybody is generally, I guess, kinder, more compassionate, because they feel better in themselves.
The world needs that right now.
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh, I know.
you too, where the UK is an absolute disaster. I feel like we're following very closely in the footsteps. So when you think of, is there anything that you wish you knew sooner?
Oh, I wish I knew sooner the power of small habits. That my history, so I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, so PCOS, or PCOS might be called. And not everybody with PCOS struggles with their weight, but that very much was my story. And I look back through my own health, and I can see it now that I was always just that little bit bigger than my friends, and weight has always been a thing that I've struggled with. So I was always on trying to diet before I qualified, like trying to lose weight, calorie restriction, excessive exercise. And so my mindset was always, you have to be all in, or it does not make any difference. And through my journey of qualifying, I understand the power of small things. So like getting morning sunlight. And actually, I wish I knew how powerful that was. So small, easy things you can do. But also, even if, let's say, you normally exercise for half an hour, but you don't have time, can you still do even 2 minutes? 2 minutes of squats is better than nothing. And my mindset for so long was like, well, there's no point. There's no point bothering. There's no point adding an extra portion of veg, because actually the rest of the meal is rubbish. There's no point going for a walk because I can only do 5 minutes. But the power of small habits, it builds consistency in a way that you are supporting your body every day. That might look different every day, but you're doing something to support your body every day. I feel like it also builds trust in yourself, because for any women that have struggled with making diet and lifestyle changes, and they are kind of that all or nothing like me, that you lose trust in yourself. You make a promise yourself to support yourself, but then actually you don't bother. And then it becomes a pattern. So actually doing some small things, it builds that, but also it makes such a big impact in your health. So I wish I knew that sooner. And so I didn't have to learn the hard way of going through the all or nothing and then trying to break that.
Best piece of advice you've been given?
Don't go on the pill. that's quite a controversial one, isn't it? But look,
no,
I'm not
I
against
agree.
it.
I agree. I wish someone did. I wish someone told me that.
I'm not against birth control, in the sense that some women, it is a necessary part for them to feel better. But what I don't like is it's just given out like sweets, or you go and you have acne, it's given out for that. And it's given out for reasons other than what it was made for, which is contraception. So that was the best piece of advice, I think. And I wish, again, I knew that sooner, so I didn't go through a whole sort of birth control journey and having to come off that. But I think getting to the root cause of my symptoms. Don't mask them, don't band-aid them. Get to the root cause of what's going on.
Yeah, that is excellent advice. That is excellent advice. I was given the pill. How old was I? Maybe 19, 20, because I had really painful, irregular periods. And that was the reasoning. Don't make any inquiries as to why.
I know.
Just take this, it'll be better.
Okay.
And it made me absolutely mental. Could not, I will never, ever, ever touch those things again. I tried multiple different ones. They all did not agree with me until I realized something does not feel right spiritually here. That's what I decided. I'm like, something feels wrong spiritually. I want this out of me. Out.
Yeah.
And nowhere near. Have not taken anything for over a decade. And I felt so much better for it. What would you say, Sarah, is the thing that you are most proud of, or perhaps what you love most about being the woman that you are today?
I think my perseverance, that I think I look back through my health journey and it would have been very easy. Well, it wouldn't have been easy because actually I didn't feel better, but it'd be very easy just to kind of go, okay, accept mediocre and go, I feel a bit better. Cool, that's good. Or again, like with my business, like building it takes time and perseverance. Like we all look at people and think they're overnight success. It's not a thing. It honestly is not a thing. And I love that about myself, that it's my ability to keep, well, I say I like that, keep going. It's not good for my stress response. But it's to kind of go, I want this in my gut. I know this is what I want to do. So just keep chipping away at it. And I really love that about myself. And it's something that I've grown into. I definitely wasn't this person when I was a teenager. We all change, right? But I think that's what I love most about myself is my ability to decide, and we're going to do it, and we do it.
I actually love that. It has been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you today. I would love for you to please share with the listeners where they can find you and how they could work with you.
Thank you so much for having me. First, it's been an absolute pleasure. So you can find me mainly on Instagram. I'm the Hormone Nutritionist. And if you do want to work with me and you've enjoyed this conversation, I'm currently writing a guide called Decode Your Period. And it focuses on the most common symptoms that women experience across their periods. So PMS, heavy painful periods, acne, migraines, and it breaks down what the most common root causes are. And then it also gives you a protocol of what you can do. So it's really decoding your symptoms, but then what you can do and what you can eat to help fix those symptoms. So if you're interested in working with me, I'm writing that at the moment. It should be ready in January. And that's hopefully going to be a really, really good resource to help hopefully lots of women understand more about what they're struggling with and what they can do to help themselves.
That sounds amazing, and I cannot wait for that to come out. How will that be available? Is it going to be an ebook or?
It will be an ebook, yes.
Amazing. Oh, this is fantastic news. I'm so looking forward to this. If you are interested in connecting with Sarah, I will include in the episode description and across socials links and ways you can do that. So if you haven't already, head on over to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and Apple Podcasts and follow the Skin On Me podcast to be the first to know when this and new episodes drop. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being a guest on the Skin On Me podcast.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
There's something to be said for the glaring lack of early education around what we go through as women every 28 days. Had I known sooner who I become during certain phases of my cycle, there are men I simply would not have chosen, breakups that may never have happened, weight battles that might never have existed, and years of being painfully hard on myself for not being able to just push through. My body and my mind were clearly asking me to feel things that I wasn't ready to feel and I wasn't ready to look at, let's be honest. I love how honestly Sarah approaches her work, helping women uncover the root cause of their health issues. After years of having very similar experiences, I can say, hand on heart, I'll be booking myself in for a sesh because clarity tends to cost far less than years of confusion. My biggest takeaway, though, was the reminder not to push through. While I've learned to soften and surrender during certain stages of my cycle, I still catch myself being hard on me when the to-do list refuses to shrink. So consider this a gentle nudge. Be easy on yourself this time of year. Be intentional and realistic about the New Year's resolutions you make. Lead with kindness and compassion towards yourself and others because I don't know about you, but it feels like the shedding of 2025 has left a lot of us a little crispy around the edges. With gratitude and grace, have a wonderful day.